Hey there. I'm trying to, I'm coming on a little early, trying to fix this. So by the time we're on here, it's been so long since I've done a live. Please share. Hey, hey, hey. Samuel never barks. He's barking now. I'm waiting for my moderator to come on too. Hey, hey, hey. Samuel is cutting up. I'll be right back. Wait a minute. Ooh. Thank you guys for coming in. Ooh. It's almost time. I encourage you guys, if you can share the live, so I can get more information out. How's everybody doing? Thank you all for coming in. Thank you, thank you, thank you. 9 minutes. Thank you for just coming in, hanging in there with me. Please feel free that if you have any questions to kind of write them down, and I'll try to answer them best possible. There is update in the past few days, so I want to let you guys know everything that's pretty much what's going on as much as I can. Please share. We'll be on in completely in 8 minutes. Thank you for coming in. Please share. Please share. How's everybody doing this evening? And in Japan, it's almost 9 o'clock a.m. on Tuesday. It's 14 hours, average is 14 hours ahead. Could you imagine the flying over there? Anytime we would fly, I would fly over there, we would lose a day. And then when we would fly back, we would gain a day. It was kind of weird. So if we left out like on a Monday, we would arrive Tuesday, which would be Japan, but it would still be Monday. Then if we left on a Friday coming back, it could be like 24 hours. When we come back, it was still Friday. So it was almost like we would never sleep for like 24 hours. So it's 9 a.m. almost in Japan. We're on Tuesday morning, where it's 7 p.m. almost on in America. This will be a time tonight where you guys can ask questions, and I'll answer them as best to my ability. But there is an update. Good. So I want to let you guys know exactly what's going on, and then how we can figure how to help these people, because it's more than Chris there. This is something that is kind of ongoing. And I'm hoping that it does. I hope I did everything to make sure that I'm saving it for people who didn't get a chance to see it. Please share, share, share. Please share. Hello, 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 hello. This is like maybe my third live, so you have to excuse me here. $3 minutes. Thank you for joining. Please share. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. Please share. There is update from Japan. So we want to do this. One minute. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. Please share. Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for coming in. I'm looking for my moderator. She hasn't made it in yet. So please share the live if you can for me. Thank you for coming in. There is an update from Japan, and I'm going to give it maybe a minute or two before I get started. I'm hoping this will be saved for those that can't make it. I really don't do lives a lot, but I want to give everybody an update on what's going on. Hey, Beth Ann. That's my cousin, y'all. Say hey. She's always supportive. You know, you got that one cousin in the family that is always a support no matter what, and that is her. I may not get to see everybody's face, but I'm saying hello. And thank you for sharing. Thank you for coming in. I'm believing that Japan, because it's 7 o'clock p.m. here and it's 9 a.m. there. So a lot of people may not be able to tune into the live. So I'm believing that we're going to be able to save it and actually put it up. I'm not for sure how long it will be. I'm going to try to make it short as possible, but I want to kind of give you an update on everything that is going on. It's quite a few. I have some questions People have asked me how they can help in certain areas. People are looking to find out what in the heck is going on. Why is this going on? What can we do to eradicate this? Because even after Chris comes home, there's still people that are there. And, and I'll kind of give you a little bit about what Japan really does and why Chris has been there so long. And, and unfortunately, when you find out pretty much why it's been there so long, it's kind of disheartening. But you know what? Hey, everybody has their own things, the way they do things. And, right is right and wrong is wrong. Okay. So I don't see my moderator, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. If you guys can please share so enough people can see what's going on. And after this, I'll probably have information weekly. So I'll try to update you as much as possible. So I just want to let you kind of know, give you a little bit of what has happened and kind of bring you up to date. So of course, you kind of really, some of you know that Chris was stopped. Come to find out, when he originally was stopped, it was he was coming from some place, and I guess he had been drinking. He's not really a drinker. He's never been. I'm not a drinker, but he wasn't a drinker, and it was normal for the place where he was at, going to, I guess, a pub or something, for people to come outside and walk into somebody's house, by somebody's house. So that was what he did. So he walked into somebody's house. One thing led to another. They called the police. Chris apologized. Nothing happened. And they asked him, the police asked him to take a DNA test. To give DNA. Chris thinking, well, you know what? I don't have any skeletons out there, so let me go ahead and take a DNA test. Samuel never barks. I'm sorry. So let me take a DNA test. Give the DNA. So he did. So giving up to several years later, they needed to close some cases. This was kind of like with the big, Me Too movement? So the big Me Too movement came out, and so Japan needed to close some cases. So of course, they can run in and they could kind of pull from their DNA database, and guess what they have? They have some DNA. So one thing led to another. Chris ends up getting picked up. They actually went into his house and got him. And he gets down to the police station. He's thinking it's a joke. And because there was no reason for him to be apprehended. Well, it wasn't a joke. Unfortunately, because of the situation, it usually they can only keep you for 23 days, and that is their law. However, they have something called the hostage justice system. The hostage justice system is based on pressuring you to admit that you did something that you did not do. And either they would give you a suspended sentence, or they would give you a little bit of time or whatever, but it would be less. The reason why it was really hard for this particular case is because of what the accusation was, and the fact that even if we complied, he was still going to get the sentence. That's what people don't know. Eventually that will come out. I was extorted for money. And they were basically stating that if he confesses, if I pay, he confess, then he would, still get time. So I'm like, well, why confess? Or for that matter, why pay? Why pay or why confess? And at the 25th hour, to make this long story short, the Innocence Project stepped in. Now, I must say, with the Innocence Project, they have done an excellent job. I would say this. Some people may think, well, you know what, they should be doing even more. They may, I don't know, but from where I stand, I think my son has the best legal team. And under the duress that they're in their own country. The Japanese are representing my son in their country. So this is kind of hard. So I'm like, they're getting the job done. You know what their job is? They go in, they do the bail things. Chris has been denied bail so many times because they usually don't give bails to foreigners. Go figure, okay? Now, mind you, all of a sudden they got this big thing going where they don't want immigrants, but they've taken all of their rights and all of their benefits and everything from them. So, getting to where we are at now, last year in 2024, after they sentenced him to 8 years with hard labor, with no evidence other than the DNA, there was appeal that was filed. So his attorneys filed an appeal because they refused to take any information on his alibi. So how is it that you can only use the DNA? Only to realize that they would need an expert witness. Now, this is where the wisdom of his attorney did come in. They sought for an outside expert witness, because as long as it remained in their system, they can say and do whatever they want to say and do. However, if it goes outside, the DNA specialist or the expert witness will only testify to what has been done. And when you run a DNA, in order, I believe, to not compromise it, you can only run it maybe 2 times, 2 if not 3 times. They took and ran it over 30 times to try to make it fit. And as soon as the DNA specialist looked at it, he realized that it had been tampered with. And it wasn't, and so now here we go. All of this DNA evidence is compromised. So then the reason why they say that they're holding Chris is because they don't want him to damage evidence. How can you damage DNA evidence that has been tampered with over 30 something times? It's been compromised. So it's impossible. So I started kind of looking into the Japanese system, looking to see, at basically from my emails and, doing the research on what in the heck is going on. Come to find out, this is what they do. This is what they do. Chris is not the only one in there that this is happening to. However, this is why we're here, to make sure that we can get Chris, to get him out. So he goes in and they take it to the Tokyo High Court. They went in and, they had to apply for all of that stuff to be able to get in. They had to grant it. As soon as it went to court in December, the judge was like, they remanded it back to Chiba, which was the original courts that did all of this. So they remanded it back to Chiba and they basically overturned the conviction. So Chris is now sitting in detention without that conviction, which in actuality is a good thing because it was an essay conviction. And you know what? He's going to come out and he has to live. So they remanded that. And now the clock starts back at 0. To my knowledge, I believe that DNA evidence can't be presented again. So I believe that now his attorneys get to present the alibis and all that other stuff and the original DNA, which is kind of a good case. Unfortunately, he had to be let leave, in order for it to start processing, he had to go back to the place where we didn't want to go. He had to go back to the original place, which was Sheba, because he had been in Tokyo for a while. And just to let you guys know, the up to date, he is in Sheba. So now the new stuff is now beginning. So although I didn't want him there, the case looks like it could not begin until he gets there. To my knowledge, based on my research, not based on the attorneys, and I could be wrong, but at this particular point, it's sitting on on a prosecutor's desk. To my knowledge, based on how this is done, I don't even think it needs to be retried. My prayer, and I'm asking you guys to pray with me with that they just decide to sign off and just throw the case out. That would be, for that matter, I wouldn't say a perfect world. That would be the just thing to do in order to be able to make sure to be able to get this done. I believe because of the steps that were taken and the DNA began to, it went out, and now it's one thing. And I would say it this way: when you, like in your household, you got your business, but it's one thing when it gets out in the street. Japan was able to keep their business in-house, but it became different when it got out in the streets. So when it made it to America, it is not just, Japan is just picking on people, or people are picking on Japan, just put it that way. This is actually real. People that were even in Japan, it took so long for people to believe it because they did not believe that Japan could actually do this. They could not, but there's just no way. The reason why I wanted my son to go, because I thought that it was one of the safest places in the world. Now, mind you, it may be safe to a certain degree. They have their issues, but that hostage justice system, that thing is real. It is real. You can literally steal a pack of gum, and if you don't confess to it, they can hold you as long as they want to and keep rolling over the time. Chris was only supposed to serve 23 days. 23 days. And it is now, thank God, it's still 4 years. But in November, it would have made 5 years. Is he still struggling a lot? Yes, he is. He sent word to me from the embassy, because the embassy does go in every month. He just sent word, Mom, I'm taking one day at a time. That's the only thing at this particular point that you can ask. So, why solitary confinement? Solitary confinement is what they do to most foreigners. And it's an ego trip. It's just definitely an ego trip. He didn't confess, and he refused to, under the duress, if you think about it, for almost 5 years, he's been sleeping with the lights on, can't turn the lights out. He cannot, he has to sit up against a wall and have his legs crossed pretty much 20 hours of the, I think it's maybe, unless he's sleeping, but a certain time of the day, he's sitting there with his legs crossed. Now, does he know a lot? He's learned a lot. He's read a lot. He's studied a lot. That's what he's doing, I believe, to keep most of his sanity. But the stress alone is unbelievable. As a mother, the only thing that I can do that really helps me emotionally is I talk about it. You know what? I don't pretend that it doesn't exist. At first, I wanted to. I got into my head and I could not believe. I often ask, why? And now it's at the point that I'm not asking why anymore. I want to know how we can help fix this. As far as, like I said, he's in Sheba, so it can be any day. It can, and so I'm asking all the prayer warriors and everybody that can really, in your, enlist, you have your nightly prayers and everything. Look, just let him go. Throw it out. We don't want to wait for no trial. We don't wait for nothing. Just throw him out and let him come home safely. Period. And so that's the biggest thing that I would say. If you guys all can please share this, as we're going over this, please to continue to share. Just throw it out. I want it over. He needs to be able to live his life. And two, as a family, as myself, I'm ready to live too. After he comes home, that's when I will find out kind of the aftermath of all of this. And, just to kind of see, what will be needed. As far as a lot of people have asked, how can we help? How can we be of a financial help? After the situation with the young man that I did a video on him. I can't think of what his name. He had the issue with the young man that ended up dying out at the track field or whatever. The what do you call it? The GoFundMe's all come in question, and they basically state that what Chris was accused of, this is something that they cannot allow to be something that is on their books. So I appealed it to a certain, and then after a while, I was like, absolutely not. I'm like, I'm not going to fight with you guys, because I'm telling you that he has a right to this. The United States has not gotten involved hardly at all. I'm going to tell you guys about that in a minute. But the United States has hardly gotten involved at all. The people in Japan are taking their resources and they're making sure that Chris is taken care of. The United States, other than people that are directly connected to us, that we individually know, nobody has done anything. They actually has pretended like this doesn't exist. Now, not to their benefit or to their credit or to let them off the hook. When I talked to people when I went to Japan earlier this year, they kept saying they could not believe that this was actually going on. They didn't think it was real. When I went to the FCCJ, where I had the interview, I had been writing them for 3 years, asking for their help. After the interview, the lady came out and told me, she said, I'm so sorry. We have all of your emails on our desk. We didn't even think this was real. So it's kind of one of those things where, no matter how much information is put out there, CBS did things, the FCCJ, articles have been done. There's some other stuff that's in the making. People cannot believe it. There's been some censored things in Japan, because I believe they're oppressing more people because the information is getting out. But more people are starting to do more videos. They're starting to do a lot more things to make sure that this information does get out. And that would be my only thing that I would say. You find the information. You can do a video. If you are a social media content creator, you feel free to do a video. If you need to contact me, if you need more information, or if it's something that I missed that I didn't go over and you need some information, I'm usually good at, responding to people, getting back, because I'm just so grateful that anybody would even consider doing anything with this case. So I thank each and every person. I thank all of you for even coming on here to even hear, what we're talking about. So getting back to the GoFundMe. So there was no fighting with that. I'm like, listen, he's going to go back to Sheba. So he's going to need resources that's going to be, that he needs. And it's going to be a financial drain, because while he was in Tokyo, he was connected to everybody. Everybody was mainly in that big area. So that's what his friends have been fighting for 2 years. They finally got him to Tokyo, where everybody can, let me see, I'm sorry. Okay, they finally got him back to Tokyo, where everybody can get to him. So he has nonstop visitors, had plenty of letters, things like that. Now he's in Sheba, where they're hours upon hours away. So the biggest thing is that this would be where now he's secluded. So since he's secluded, the visits that he would be getting every day now, they may end up calming down. And then even for those resources. So the biggest thing that I would say is what I do is when I get ready to send him money, I have to send it to the embassy. So I'm going to give you, it'll probably just come through my Cash App. I get it and I send it to the embassy and the embassy gets it to him. Since the GoFundMe, I was going to have to do the same thing with the GoFundMe. So if anybody wants to do that, my moderator, I don't see her, but she would have been able to put the not the GoFundMe, but the what do you call it? The Cash App up there. But when she gets up there, I'll ask her to put it up there. But other than that, that's what's going on there. Any day now. We're just saying any day now. Like I said, his attorneys, his team, the Honda family, his team of supporters, they've done a good job. I also talked about how I was going to talk about where is Black America. Wow. I, as a proud Black woman, I have been extremely disappointed. Other than some of the people that we know that are close to us, kind of like our circle or family or whatever, we have reached out to hundreds of people. People that were in Congress, people that look just like us, and they don't even respond. So my thing is, I don't know if it's because it's over in a foreign country, that they didn't want to have anything to do with it, or do they believe that, it's not that important in spite of all of the things that they hear? I don't know what they believe, but at this point, America, especially Black America, has not gotten involved at all. At all. Now, in Japan, the ones that are over there that are African American, that some of them were profiled also, they are extremely involved. And they're involved even at their own risk. And so it'll be different over here. I can say more. I can do more. We can say more. We can do more because we're not afraid that the Japanese are going to come and knock on our door and take our kids out or take us out. We're not concerned about all of that. So we don't have to be censored. We don't have to defame, but we don't have to be censored. Over there, they're taking a chance on speaking up on his behalf. His attorneys, the supporters, they've been outside in the wintertime holding up signs and passing out flyers and all kinds of stuff. But America, nothing. As far as our current sitting president, I still write those letters. Eventually, they just stop answering them. So just recently, I just kind of told what I felt. You know what? It's a disappointment. It is a disappointment. Although I'm duty bound to pray for those who have the rule over us, it is such a disappointment. But my question is, I asked, what if this was your child and you were in this situation? No disrespect to you, Mr. President, but what if you were in this situation? What would you do? I know you have other things that you are dealing with in this country. I know that you got things you got to clean up and probably don't even know how. But still, I'm reaching out to you. The biggest thing that I would say is at least reach back out. Now, finally, after a lot of letters before that, they reached out to me in December because I just kind of put it out there. And the letter basically stated, this is the Department of State from, on behalf of the president, et cetera, that we see that your son has a victory in the Tokyo High Courts, and we're watching the case from Washington. That was in December. and I have not heard from them since, in spite of all of the information that I've sent. So we're kind of working on our own. And I will say this, just to put it out there. From what I've seen and what causes people to move in Japan is social media does do a good job. It does. When people start spreading awareness about what's really going on, they're a little bit more concerned about image. Now, eventually, because this is a miscarriage of justice, eventually our country will have to speak up, because that's what they do after everything is set. But we don't want them to wait until everything is fixed. We want them to get involved now. I did a video some time ago, and I was so heart-warmed and heartbroken at the same time, because so many people, we got like over 300,000 views on this video, and over 1,000 people were, tagging Jasmine Crockett and the Obamas and all of them, and no response. I wanted to tell them so bad, you don't even need to tag them, because they're not going to respond. My question is, why? Why wouldn't it? My son is a U.S. citizen. I'm a U.S. citizen. I'm born and raised. I'm not from another country. We carry birth certificates from this country. Our passports are from this country. Our parents are from this country. We are not immigrants. We are born and raised here. And Chris has only went there. In fact, he was on a visa when he went. So, and he still has an American passport. So we're supposed to have American benefits. As far as the embassy goes to visit him once a month, and they report back to me once a month to kind of let me know what's going on. And they basically make sure that he's safe. What they did this time around, because Chris kept getting sick, the embassy put a 24-hour camera in his cell that was to be monitored. So, and they don't do that to my knowledge, they don't do that to every person that's there. So the embassy, the U.S. embassy, and I've talked with them, they know that is some crazy, funny stuff going on. So they wanted to make sure that he was watched. And so when the time that he was moved, the U.S. embassy went in to see him. And then right after that, they transferred him to Sheba. So what I did right away is got in touch with the U.S. embassy and let them know, hey, you may not know, but he's been transferred. Let's get this thing right back on the going. Another thing, it is extremely hot in Japan. And they said it's like 10 years. Every 10 years they get this heat. So it's extremely, extremely hot. And so that's been my concern. At one point they said Chris had pneumonia twice and he had frostbite on his hand. Now, mind you, he plays the piano. So in Sheba, he had pneumonia twice and had frostbite on his hand. So the conditions in Japan, in these detention centers and things, are horrendous. And the only thing that can happen is us as citizens, we can put the pressure on America, and America can make them. The human rights organizations have been trying to get Japan to make some changes for the people. And now what we can do is we can actually get America to, listen, you guys have to do this, make some changes. Now, as far as the United Nations, because I've reached out to them, I've gotten 2 letters from the United Nations. The United Nations postponed talking about his case twice. So I'm going to contact them again to let them know this is still a real case. So I don't know who all and everybody that's involved. My prayer is that, that Chris is always safe. And no matter what, when I look at what's going on with him, this is the thing. Chris is one of them that's going through this. He's not the only one. And that's the hard part. When he comes home, this is still going to be going on. And so our job is now is to make enough noise as to where by the time Chris comes home, it's still going to be real, real, real loud. Now, as far as if you haven't, I'm asking you to go on change.org and sign the petition. There's almost 11,000 names up there of people that have fully signed the petition. I think it's between maybe 25 or 30 people, 30,000 people that have viewed the petition. So I'm glad because that does stand for something, because it gives support. As far as the prime minister, it's a lot going over there in Japan with the prime minister. I've reached out several times. At one point, I did get some movement. However, it's really quiet over there. And right now, she has her own issues. They're marching over there. They're like, you know what? It's time for you to go. And I can agree. But that's not my country. We've got our own things that we're dealing with on the inside of here. So, other than that, if you guys have any questions or something like that, I can take a pause and kind of see if you have anything that you would like to know. He's so humbled by all of the support and the outcry. He always asks, why me? Why would people be that nice to me? They said at one point he had over 600 letters that came in, and they had to stop. They asked people to stop sending letters. From the time when we did like the FCCJ and CBS, over 600 letters plus came in. So he had to stop them because he couldn't read them all. And he was trying to respond to all of them. And his health was just not allowing it. As far as like his health conditions that's concerned, Japan, with their system, they just didn't care. They didn't care. Like, you know what? He needs to stay here. He needs to stay here. Yes, it's our fault. And they have to understand. And I don't know what the processing of their thinking is. Eventually, he's coming out. You can face this now, or you can face this later. Don't face it when something worse is happening. Just deal with it now. I'm not going to stop talking. I notice that when I'm quiet, then things slow down. So until he comes home, and after that, I'll be doing something every single week, doing updates, because whether I get a letter, whether I get a call or something, because I believe that people that are supporting and care, that you should know exactly what's going on. And to find out how we can get this out with these people in Japan. And, to help some of the other people. But mainly, the first one is to help Chris. I would love for some of you that have supported him, that have not met him. He's looking forward. He's got thousands of people that he will get a chance to meet when he comes home. He's got to get home. And so that's my thing. Look, y'all, let my baby go and put him on a plane, and we will meet him at the airport. That's where I'm at with this, kind of right now. Some days are easier for me. Some days are hard, really, really hard. When I think about the weather, and, I can put a fan on me. I can put air conditioning on it. I can walk out. I can take a shower anytime I want to if it gets too hot. I can, go and eat extra watermelon and whatnot to get extra hydration. They don't have access to all of that. And the biggest thing is, this is mainly just a ego thing with Japan. It's like, no, you know what? We're not going to do this. As far as the Yamada, that Professor Y that did the DNA analysis, if you go back and look at it, it was a man that had he was falsely detained, and he was on death row for over 40-something years. When he went back, his case finally came up for a retrial. This particular Yamada that did the same thing for Chris, he ran the DNA. And he ended up having to, you know what? Dude didn't do it. He didn't do it. So now, when it comes to thing with Chris, it's like he's not, people have been trying to get in touch with him. He's not taking interviews. He's not doing any of that because this is a really bad case. And Gavin Blair, the one that did this particular article from the FCCJ, he put his name and where he worked at and everything. So I don't know what's going on. I know it's a very hot topic and it's a very high profile case because not only is it looking that it's with a foreigner, with an American, but it's looking like it's racism. And as much as I tried to say no, 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 it looks like that's exactly what they're dealing with Black and brown people. They just don't care for them and they don't want them in their country and they're mistreating them. So I just would have to say that, you know what? My prayers is I'm going to send something out, another like text message or email or something to just call for a time of prayer, because the last time I called for prayer, things started moving. And then when I stopped, it kind of stopped. So we want to just kind of keep the pressure going because prayer does work, and my biggest thing too is we need our country to respond. As far as the people that were responding, that you said there was like congressmen or whatever, I'm going to tell you exactly what happened. I got in touch with Frank Mrvan, who is our representative in Indiana. Frank Mrvan, he wrote a letter to Ambassador Glass. Of course, Ambassador Glass in Japan, our ambassador that our president chose to put in place, never responded. So the embassy always has to respond. And it was like, you know what? We're already looking to this. We don't get involved in this. This is what we've got our people going in every month to see them. That's all they said. Now, what happened with this situation is it took almost 9 months for Frank Mrvan to respond, to reach out to the ambassador again. And that was because when CBS contacted them, they asked them, have you heard anything? And they had not followed up again. So I know Frank Mrvan, the reason I give him some credit is because he was willing to take and be one of the first ones to write a letter, but nothing came of it at all. Another with Todd Young, their office, they wrote a letter. Nothing came of it. So, I would say during voting times, we have to start looking at people that are actually going to get something done. A lot of people have a lot of bark, but their bite is real weak. And, not to discount them because some things they cannot do. But I've seen it. The reason why I reached out to those people, because I've seen it when it happened with people that were of other races. And when their congressmen got involved and people, they got involved, they got the people home from Japan. So that's what made me follow up. That's what made me contact them in the first place and try to follow up. I'm like, wait a minute. I see that these people over here in this particular state, if something goes on in Japan, they get their people home. So why are not my congressmen or, my senators, aren't they doing anything? So just to know this, I've tried every angle, and there has been no movement. So the only people that I have is, and literally one platform that has been one of the best has been TikTok. The people that come on TikTok they make things happen. They do. Then some people, they pick things up. They're making videos on YouTube. My biggest thing that I would say is whatever you do, if you make a video, make sure that the information is correct. because we don't want to make it worse on Chris, and we don't want to make it worse. And they try to take down your page or something like that. So we don't want to do anything like that. So does anybody have any questions or comments? Come on, I know you do. I appreciate all of you for even tuning in. This is really, truly a blessing. It's definitely encouraging to know that you guys care. Because at one point, it was so quiet. And it wasn't for just a couple of months. It was for years. For maybe the first 3 years, it has been very quiet. Very, very, very quiet. And that's been really hard because those were some of the darkest times, because you just never know what happens. And I was like, my cousin Beth Ann, she always has something going on, and she would just not know. She's a singer and she has a band and everything. And I just love them. I think I'm one of their #1 fans. Is it Sankofa, or whatever it is? I just love it. And sometimes when I would be at some of my hardest times, she would be performing. And me and some of our family members or whatever, we would go. And it just seems like I would go and I would see her, and the greeting and things that we would get. And just to be out, it would take me like for a whole nother month. And so I thank her for everything that she's doing. And thank you for all of the support of everybody that's around me. You know, my church family, I know it's kind of hard for them because they're right there with me. They see me sometimes when there's days when it's hard and I'm crying. They don't know what to do. They don't know what to say. We wrote our, let me see, we're writing to the local congressmen and women. Oh, we've done that. You can still, do it as much as you can. Some people, it may just be me. Maybe they just didn't want to hear from me. But you can write them, and, just maybe if they hear from other people, it will put the pressure on them to actually do something. The reason why we do a lot, and people are doing a lot with social media now when it comes to Chris and at Justice for Chris Payne, is because we want Japan to know. Wait a minute. They're saying something. Okay. Wait, hang on for a second. Okay. Uh-oh. Wait a minute. Okay, it's saying what's the name will end in 5 minutes. What do I have? Okay. All right. So I'm sorry about that. We just want Japan to know that everybody's watching. That's the biggest thing. When you get that thing there, when you find out that Japan, that other people are watching, that's when Japan knows, like, okay, we've gotta, we gotta move different. So that's gonna be the biggest thing, is more than anything. If you can write somebody, if you know someone, no matter what, I would still say, writing the president, writing the congressman. Now, I'm a major fan. I've been a major fan of the Obamas, things like that. But I would have to say, it's been the same thing. It's been the same. The Biden administration. In fact, the Biden administration is the ones that got it first. And Rahm Emanuel was actually the ambassador during that time. He did absolutely nothing. As far as this administration, they did more. I would say this administration did more than the Biden administration did. So, when you start kind of looking at it, it was just, I think what it was is that, if we just kind of keep this quiet, it'll go away. Well, I'm a mama. It ain't going away. It's not. It's not. Have I reached out to the Ben Crumps and everything? Yes, I have. However, this is an international case. So theirs is more so in America. I did reach out to Maya Harris, who is into the international relations, and no response. None whatsoever. So I don't know if it's a particular type of people, whether it has to be something that's overly fatal. Listen, if it means that it has to get to that point for them to reach out, I don't need their help. I don't even want their help. If it means it's got to be so bad for before they step up, I could kind of care less. However, if they're willing to step in there and use their credibility and, their voice to speak up and even say anything, then I believe that it will mean something. Now, as far as the letter from Frank Mrvan and the letter from the president's office getting out there, I believe it shifted some things a little bit. Maybe 10% out of 100. But I believe it probably did a little bit of something, but it's not consistent. It's not consistent. So by it not being consistent, it's not much of a threat. So I'm just, that's my biggest thing for, sharing this, making sure that it gets out. Keep asking questions. If anybody have any questions, please ask me. I didn't come on here just so I can talk. I want you guys to know, what do you want to know? If it's something that I can say that won't harm, the situation, then I'm willing to try to say it as much as possible. However, the Innocence Project Japan, I would have to say the Innocence Project Japan, because there are different innocence projects that I also have reached out to. I volunteer for the one in Indiana, but I've reached out to them. They have their own things, and sometimes they just don't get involved with the other ones. However, this is Innocence Project Japan. This is Innocence Project Japan. So just to know that they've done a good job. So we don't have to pay. So if anybody's like, was any of the money going to legal fees or anything? No, he doesn't need money for any legal fees. However, for sustainability, because in the detention center, they don't have the correct foods, the right foods. So when he was in detention in Tokyo, the people were able to go in. When we went, we were able to go and buy fresh apples and oranges and all kinds of stuff for him. People that went in for him, they would always put money on his books, and they would buy him canned fruit and fish and all kinds of stuff. So he did eat good. The biggest thing that happened with Chris is stress. The stress. And that's what they do with the hostage justice system. They keep you away from your family. They keep you away. You don't get any phone calls. He hasn't had TV in all these years. He hasn't had a phone call. He hasn't hugged anybody. He hasn't done any of this. They are inhumane. And the biggest thing that I made a promise that when my son comes out of this, I'm going back to the battlefield. They're going to fix this thing in Japan. This has now become personal. You can't just be messing with people's kids. You just can't be doing that. So we're going to need an army to do that, because these people's mindsets are stuck. They can see that that everything is about to fall in front of them, and they will still keep going because they don't want to lose. But this is the thing, you've already lost. So just learn when to give in. Just learn when to give in. I remember going over to visit Japan, and we went to one of the samurai museums. And one of the tales that I remember of them talking about, because it was like a real sacred museum, and they had like these uniforms there. And these uniforms were this gear was of the samurais that died in battle. And so I'm like, well, what is the history behind them? These were even some of the samurais that they believe that if they knew that they were about to lose, to keep their dignity, they would take themselves out in the middle of war to die with their dignity. So these people are like, you know what? We're going to hold out. We know eventually we're going to have to let it go. But for the sakes, you know what? They don't understand. Whatever they sow is what they're going to reap. So I guess they don't believe in law. They don't even have to believe in laws of sowing and reaping. What about karma? What about things like that? that whatever their children may suffer from this, their parents may suffer from this, not just them, but they don't look at that when they're making decisions like that. So that's what causes them to have this inhumane way of doing. And it's been for over 80 years. It's been since it's not 80 years, but it's been since 1945. So 1945, and is it now coming up on the 80th year or past the 80th year, whatever, since the war. So these are just pretty much the war tactics that they have. And it's almost like, we've got a U.S. citizen, that we have. And so it's like now we have something. And that's just my point of view. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's true. It's my point of view from what I see, that it's just kind of like a power struggle. And they just don't want to be made ashamed, and they don't want to lose. But now the world is watching them and how they're going to respond to this case. This is one time when you just throw your hands up and say, hey, we're just going to take this L. However, we're dealing with a different type of set of people. So if there are not any questions, which I hope, I'm going to give it these 8 minutes. And I thank you for everyone that stayed on this long, and some of you guys that are just coming in. Now you can't, I wouldn't send him any books now. He's in Chiba. He's back in Chiba now. At first he was in Tokyo. He's in Chiba. Things are a little bit different. And I don't want things to get crossed as to where he doesn't get them. So say, for instance, tomorrow they go in and say, you know what, he's coming home. Your books are going to be lost in the shuffle. Now, they may go to somebody that's there, which would probably be good, because there's a lot of Americans that are, up to my knowledge, that are there. At one point, the U.S. Embassy said that because Chris likes to draw and he makes cartoons or whatever. So they have a lot of people. Chris does speak the language, but they have people that are there that don't speak the language, that are that were detained. And he would make comic books for them. And the U.S. Embassy would pass them out. So, so that, that's still some of the, good things that that did happen out of it. So, you just want to make sure that, I would say not do any of that right now. If you wanted to do anything, you can do, like I said, my moderators not on here, but at hashtag Midwest Elite, you can do $1, you can do $5, whatever you want to do. I'll make sure that he gets it. I'll get it to the embassy to make sure that they get it to him, to make sure that he's able to buy the different things. And I know he's able to get the different foods. I think they do it maybe once every couple of weeks, where anytime when he was in Tokyo, people were able to go right in and buy it. And he would get it within like the same day or the next day. And the biggest thing that I always wanted him to have was fresh fruit, because I figure an apple a day keeps the doctor away. So what we did is like, listen, we're going to pay for him to get an apple a day for 30 days. We're going to keep, and then one of his old bosses came in and she did the same thing to make sure that he was getting fresh fruit and things like every single day. But the biggest thing that wore on him was the just not knowing. They even said that when they put people on death row, they never tell them what day that they're coming. So it can be years. And the one guy, it was years, 40-something years. They never told him what day. So that's the stress. Chris is pretty much like, if I know what's going on, I know how to prepare my mind. I could go one day at a time. But for being there for almost 5 years, not knowing what was going to happen any day, that's where they do with this mental anguish. So my biggest thing is, I'm going to do a petition once again to the United Nations, so they can kind of get on board with the inhumane way of how Japan is dealing with it. And especially the fact that they refuse. They have been told that they needed to put air conditioning in there for the summers and heat for the winters. They refuse to, because nobody's putting enough pressure on them. So I'm going to get something together, and that's where we're going to come in at, to make sure that they get the air conditioning and to make sure that they put it, because I think they even put, I was reading somewhere in some of the things that they even put the money up for them to be able to do it. They just refuse to do it. So this goes to the higher ups as to where the judges, the prosecutors, all of these people, they're involved in all of them. And like I said, at one point I was exploited for money just because of it. So they've got a whole ring going. So I just, want to encourage everybody too, that if you're going to travel to Japan, I don't care what race you are, you be wise with traveling there. Somebody's going to be a scapegoat. Just don't let it be you. Okay. So if we have any questions, anybody, you have anything you need to say, thank you for everybody that tuned in. Please share this. I'm going to try to put this back up so everybody can see it. Like I said, I don't know how to kind of work this, but I thank all of you. I feel so encouraged just to know that you guys even cared to take your time to even show up. This stays more. Thank you. It's Tasha, Japan. Are you from Japan? Are you in Japan? Because and I think about it is I love Japan. I do. Oh, hey, how are you dealing with that heat? Oh my gosh. Oh, you knew Chris. Okay. Well, you know what? You coming on here. Oh, you're from Spain. Okay. Well, you know what? By you being on here says something. I've gotten heard so many great reports about, even in the midst of what Chris is dealing with when people go to meet him. He's still the same Chris. He tries to be strong mentally, in spirit. I was like, you know what? He got that from his mama. We try to stand up under all kind of stuff. But I thank all of you, because in the midst of all of the times when it seems like I've fallen apart, when I've shown my weaknesses, you guys have always been there. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I know. It's everybody that I talk to, everybody's shocked. People are still shocked that this is going on. And the biggest thing that I hate more than anything, people feel so helpless. They feel so helpless against this country because they're like, wait a minute, they refuse to even obey the law. You guys know that this is against the law. It's against their constitution and everything. They refuse to obey. They refuse to obey. But you know what? We're going to pray. We are going to pray. And we're going to believe God that there's going to be some changes in this state. I'm a believer. People believe different things. And so no matter what, you pray, no matter what, that something will begin to change for the people in Japan. And definitely for Chris. And as soon as he comes home, I'm going to be coming every week, and I'm going to be giving an update. And one day, I'm going to be on live, and he's going to be on here with me. And you guys will get a chance to say hello and celebrate with me. To God be the glory. And I am about to leave off. If there's no more questions or comments or anything, again, I thank you all. I appreciate you all. If you can, please still share. And I will talk to you next week. I'll send something else out to let you know, meaning because evidently, as of now, I'll be getting updates on a regular. It's been, the embassy said they sent me a letter, so I should be getting that anytime now. And I'll let you guys know. Thank you, and I'll see you guys soon.